This means that when you put an idea out into the universe, people, places and things come into your life to fulfill that idea. When we think, we actually cause things to happen. Look at what this power has done in the universe. Look all around you, and see all the marvelous creations, infinite in number. The best news of all is that same power is within you. And, the more open, responsive and receptive you are to this power, the more fulfilling and magnificent your life will be. If this is true, then how does the power work? You and I are indirect users of the power. Let me explain. When you started your car today, what did you have to do? Well, you had to turn your key, which turned a small starting motor, which in turn started the engine. The starter motor was powered by electricity. Now, what was the direct source of that electricity? Was it the battery? No, it wasn't. A battery is not an independent source. It has to be charged up. Your higher self is essentially a battery within that receives its source of power or energy from the universe. It then stores that power for you to use for the purpose of creation. In science there is a formula known as Ohm's law, which states that C equals E divided by R, C equals E slash R. C equals the amount of electrical energy that is available for your appliance at the place where you are going to plug it in. For example, C equals the amount of electricity to run your toaster. The power to run the appliance is the result of A, which is the direct power source, divided by R, which is the resistance the power meets while getting there. Now, suppose the main power line coming into the building where you live is 750,000 volts, but it comes into your house at 110 to 220 volts to run your appliances. To do this, transformers are used on the power line to reduce the power coming into your house, to make it safe for application. This is just like the power available to you. You have the ultimate power of the universe available to you, but it also has infinite wisdom, which might be referred to as a transformer. While our higher self is plugged into the ultimate power of the universe, this power also has enough wisdom to put some transformers in between to insulate it, so we don't get too much before we are ready for it, and burn ourselves out. Now, if you wanted to bring in more power, what would you do? You would have to create less resistance, and you would have to change the wiring to accommodate the additional flow of power. How to have more power? This power is like the water in our earlier example in the sense that a larger container is needed to carry greater quantities. You cannot expect that just because your higher self is plugged into the ultimate power, intelligence, and wisdom of the universe, that you can just turn it on, because if you did you would blow yourself right out. So in order to get our lives to work, and take greater advantage of this energy, we have to build a bigger channel for creative intelligence to flow through. To enlarge this channel we have to expand our consciousness. Expanding our consciousness involves expanding our ideas and beliefs regarding ourselves, and our relationship to this power. And as we do this, we begin to experience more of this ultimate power, and our ability to create greatly increases. You and I are creative beings, and we always have the capacity to create more. In fact, we are always creating, consciously or unconsciously. By knowing who we are, and the process by which we can expand the power within, we can begin to move our creation from the unconscious to the conscious. When we create on the conscious level, we are able to make choices. When we create on the unconscious level we cannot make choices. We often hear about how we have the power of choice, but that is not entirely accurate. It is misleading to say someone chooses a dysfunctional relationship, money problems, or any other negative situation in his or her life. Most of the time we are operating in the default mode, which is based on our past conditioning. Choice implies being conscious. However, when you are unconscious, you cannot make conscious choices. You are operating in the default mode, or on automatic pilot. The default mode is the survival mode. This is where the mind takes control without us even being aware of what is happening. Choice begins when you stop identifying with your conditioned patterns of the past. Until you reach that point, you are unconscious. This means you're compelled to think, feel and act in certain ways according to the conditioning of your mind. When we can make choices, we're no longer the victim of our unconscious reactions. If our unconscious negative thinking does not support what we want, rather than trying to eliminate it, all we have to do is center on right thinking. Right thinking is a thought pattern that is based on truth. Truth by its very nature must always be right. There is no growth without discontent. Your higher self always knows what is best for you. All you need to do is to assert that you want something better than you have right now. Realize that there is no growth without discontent. While it is important to live in the present moment and accept what is, it is also important to grow from where we are. Study your dissatisfaction very carefully, because it will tell you something about yourself. Your life is an ever-changing canvas. What are you going to paint on it? Are you going to paint lack and limitation? Because if you do, your canvas is going to reflect lack and limitation. Are you chained to your limitations? Have you ever gone to the circus and noticed that the great big elephants are tied to a wooden stake with just a thin rope? Also, the baby elephants have a big chain around their legs that is tied to a long metal stake that goes deep into the ground. This happens because the baby elephants must be chained up when they are very tiny to keep them from trying to get away. If the stake is driven far enough into the ground, and the chain is strong enough, the baby elephant won't be able to budge. Eventually the day will come when the baby elephant stops tugging, and never tries to pull away again. Someone then replaces the metal stake with a wooden one, because they know the elephant has been conditioned to believe that he cannot get away. By creating our own limitation through our belief system, we do the very same thing. We become limited not by reality, but by reality as we perceive it to be. I once had a cat that seemed to believe that he couldn't jump onto high places, so he wouldn't even try. As the cat got older, he grew senile, and simply forgot he didn't know how to jump. One day I came home and the cat was sitting on the highest shelf on the bookcase. He had knocked over all the books and art objects. You see, in the cat's senility he forgot what he couldn't do. What would happen if we became senile in a positive way? We would quite possibly forget all the things that we can't do, and just do them. Understand the rules of life. Understand that if your life does not work the way you want it to, it is because you have accepted false beliefs that keep you from being all that you can be. Unfortunately, the majority of people on this planet feel stuck. When we look at the world and see the suffering, misery and impoverishment, when we see so many well-intentioned people doing without, the world looks insane. We see people giving up, believing that they have to take from others in order to have anything for themselves. Rarely do we look within for the answer to this confusion. Rarely does the individual really look to see what the rules of life are. So what happens is that in our ignorance of ourselves and of life, we hustle, fight and strain to get what we want. And it ends up not working anyway. Playing the game of life, you see, life is a game. Some people play the game of struggle. Some people play the game of sickness. Some people play the game of poverty. Some people play the game of being right all the time. Some people play the game of being late. But some people play the game of happiness, abundance and health. It just helps to understand that each individual plays a game that he or she sets up, and that no one game is necessarily better than another. If the game were not bringing us some sort of a payoff, we'd stop playing. Look at your own life. Try to see the secret satisfaction that you get out of not being fully in charge of your life. What kind of secret satisfaction could there possibly be in feeling victimized? How could anyone enjoy feeling weak, or poor or inadequate? The answer is in the payoff or pay value. For example, if you play the weak game, others will have to love you, take care of you and protect you. It is the ultimate way to get attention. If you play the game of being undecided all the time, and let other people decide for you, then you are protected from blame if you make a mistake. In other words, if you keep both hands tied behind you, then you can expect someone to take care of you. In playing a helpless routine, you are actually controlling others. The power of powerless people is remarkable. They are good at making others play the part that they have written for them. Look at the value that you are getting out of your payoff. An example is being sick. Look at the value you get out of being sick. You may be saying, that is insensitive and cruel. You don't know what I've been through. No, it's not cruel. It's crueler to deny it. What you are really saying is that your disease has more power than you do to decide your destiny. The question here is, who is giving the illness such power? If you are experiencing illness, just take a look at it. Don't pass any judgment on yourself. Just let it tell you something. Know that no matter what is going on in your body, it begins in your mind. Illness is the body's reaction to your mind. Since your body is a feedback mechanism of your mind, it will always let you know what is going on in your consciousness and an emotional level. Let your body be your teacher.